The views and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Reproduction or dissemination other than for the purpose of education or information without the express written permission of the Phoenix Research Institute or Nova Society Media is strictly prohibited.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today, our panel answers more listener emails, and we will continue to talk about a topic brought up by our listener, Robert from New Orleans. And we will talk about the very close election and the 7 states that will determine this year's president. And Robert, we will finish up the states and finish up with Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. And we did talk about Florida last time. And Robert also wants to know, do we think the hurricanes might have an impact on Florida's numbers? So let's start off with Michigan.
Wow, Michigan is that's a tough one. Michigan, is it in play? Yes. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania generally vote together. I have to admit, Trump going in and complaining about Detroit in Detroit was a huge tactical error. I see Michigan going to Harris. I think she carries Michigan.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I don't even think this one's gonna be that close. Biden won it, I think, by 2.5 to 3 points, somewhere in there. If memory serves, Trump had won it by a very slim margin in 2016, but it's really like the 13th bluest state in the whole country. And I really don't think that Trump has done anything in Michigan to justify the people switching to a Republican there. On his watch, auto manufacturing plants shut down. On his watch, the state did not do all that well, and they've done much better since. So I'm gonna actually say that this one will, it's a tight election no matter what, but like 3-4 points, something like that. Harris is going to take Michigan.
Who's next?
Well, we have Wisconsin, Nevada, and Pennsylvania.
All right, Wisconsin, I'm going to say exactly what I don't think Wisconsin's going to be that close at all. I think Harris takes Wisconsin without a single issue. I just can't see Wisconsin flipping over.
Yeah, it was like a weird thing that Trump won Wisconsin in 2016 by a very, very tight margin, about 23,000 votes. And Hillary Clinton hadn't even gone there because she thought she had it in the bag, I guess. And that it's another one of these states that has cities that drive the entire state one way or another. And that Milwaukee is going to go for Harris, and probably, Madison will go for Harris. And that's probably enough for Harris to win this. I think the aberration here was that Trump won it in 2016. I don't think that was a normal state of affairs at all. But
No.
So I'm guessing Wisconsin's going to stay blue and be a win for her.
And I would say the same about the other state, Nevada.
Nevada also, okay.
I think Nevada goes to Harris. Although Nevada's a lot like Arizona. There's one area that really drives it's Las Vegas. That area there really drives, most of the voters are right there. The rest of Nevada is not that populous. And so in these kind of states where you've got one really large metropolitan area, I think that the Democrats have a pretty good shot there, especially when the metropolitan area outnumbers the rest of the population. Then I think that bodes well for the Democrats.
Yeah, I think like 3/4 of all Nevadans live in the Las Vegas area. Was there this summer. It's a big sprawling area. As you come in from the air there, it's like you just kind of get a sense of the urban sprawl that is Las Vegas, and that's going to drive the state, and it's going to go for Harris.
Yeah, recent presidential elections, just looking in Nevada, the last time a Republican won in Nevada was 2004. And that would be Bush too.
Right.
And they won in 2000, again, Bush too. But since then, Nevada in 2008, 55-42, pretty big win there. It's beginning to narrow. 2012, 52-45, 2016, 47-45, and in 2020, 50-47. I can't see Nevada. They're calling it a toss-up. 6 electoral votes, very, very important. But I just can't see Nevada switching over because of the population that lives in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's interesting because in all of these states, one of the things that keeps coming up in my mind is something that is very real to me here. My in-laws are very Republican, even though they're from Brooklyn. And my father-in-law doesn't vote at all. He hasn't. I don't think he's voted for anybody since, I don't even know what it was. It might have been Goldwater. I don't even know. I mean, it's been that long. And and he's an anarchist more than a Republican, but he's very conservative. He's very libertarian. And my mother-in-law is, dyed-in-the-wool Republican, but like a Ronald Reagan Republican. She believes in small government, low taxes, government staying out of people's lives altogether and things like that. And I had a conversation with her about my daughter, who was offered a job with a really good advertising company. She lives in New York City now, and this would have meant her moving to Knoxville, Tennessee. And when she looked into the healthcare situation in Knoxville, Tennessee, she was shocked to find that most of the OBGYNs have left the state. And she spoke with the HR person that she was dealing with, and she said, look, I would love to come to work for your company, but I have to work remotely because I cannot live in Tennessee. And they said that a number of women have complained about that because they literally can't get health care for themselves in Tennessee right now. It's very hard to get. And I said to my mother-in-law, you have daughters, you have granddaughters, you have 2 daughters. How can you justify voting for Trump at this point? We need a national protection of women's health care rights. It's not just abortion, which as a Catholic she would be against, but she is against. But it's health care for women that they're not being able to get. And I'm not sure that I can make a compelling argument to her because she is a very stubborn human being. But it does seem to me, when I look at like a state like Nevada that has a high Hispanic population, and people know that Trump, or believe that Trump has made inroads with the Hispanic population, and that Hispanic men in general don't want to vote for a woman, that this year they need to do it for their wives and daughters. That this year they can't vote for themselves. They have to vote for their loved ones, and that they're going to either stay home or they're going to switch their vote to Harris, and that they'll do it for the very best of reasons because they love somebody who would be hurt by their vote otherwise.
Yep. So the last one up on, I guess, is Pennsylvania, that we in the upstate of New York would call it. Pennsylvania, very important state. Now, in 2020, Biden won it by a point and 1.2%. Not a great victory there. 2016 was the most recent time that Republicans won it, and even at that even at that point in time, it was only by 0.7%, by zero point 0.7, not 7, but 0.7 percentage points. You have to go all the way back to 1988 to find where Pennsylvania went Republican. When Barack Obama, here's the thing that gives me some hope about Pennsylvania and why I'm going to make the prediction I'm going to make. Barack Obama in 2008 won Pennsylvania by over 10 points. In 2012, he won Pennsylvania by 6 points. I think that trend there is going to carry Kamala Harris, and I honestly don't think Pennsylvania, just like Scott didn't think about Michigan, I don't think Pennsylvania is going to be as close as people think it is. I think Pennsylvania is going to be decided by probably 2, maybe 3 points, and it's going to go to Harris.
So, I mean, I'm gonna suggest here that Harris is going to win Pennsylvania, and therefore the election. And it was 19 electoral votes, very important, obviously. And I think that some of the indicators of that are, I had read, and I'm trying to verify this, that Lackawanna County is voting overwhelmingly Democratic. And it is a very Democratic part of the state, but it is, again, one of these places that's sort of a bellwether, and that Biden is very powerful there still, that it's going to go for Harris, and that it's going to be indicative of the state. This is the state where we're not going to know until like Thursday after the election, maybe even Friday, because of a stupid law that they put in place that they can't count early votes until they've already counted all the votes that happened that day. So this is the red mirage state, because Republican voters tend to like to go out on election day and vote, and the rest of the state likes to use early voting or ballot drop boxes or mail-in votings, and that there's going to be a lot of counting that goes on late after election night is over the next couple of days, and that they're putting more people on it this time than they did last time. I think I had heard on the radio the other day that they'll likely get it done by Thursday, maybe even Thursday night, and Friday at the latest. Last time when Biden won, I think we didn't know until Saturday, if memory serves. But this time it's likely to be earlier in the week. But that Harris is going to win Pennsylvania.
So by our estimates, just going back through, I think we've picked Wisconsin Harris, Michigan Harris, Pennsylvania Harris. I think we both agree that North Carolina is potentially Harris. I'd rather be her than him at this point in time. Georgia, couldn't even begin to give you an idea what Georgia's going to do. Nevada and Arizona, once again, it'll all depend on the turnout they get there. If they get the turnout, both of them will go toward Harris, I believe. I think people are just tired of Donald Trump's shtick. And I think Liz Cheney when she was at a stop with Vice President Harris the other day at a campaign rally, she said, you know what, Republicans, you don't have to say it. You don't have to tell anybody. Go out and vote your conscience. Go vote your conscience and then just shut up about it. And I think that's great advice. The ballot box is secret. Let it remain secret. It is okay to go out and vote this guy out. Make sure he doesn't get into power again, even if you're a staunch Republican and you do not have to believe in everything that the policies that Harris has. But this guy's telling you who he is. This guy is telling you what he's going to do. And if you think he's going to lift you up, you're wrong. That is not the way it is. So by our prediction, as of right now, 2 weeks before actually it's less than 2 weeks right now before the election when we're recording this, I think Harris is in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I'm going to go 303 to 219. I might even give it 304. So she wins the three blue wall states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. She wins Georgia. She wins Arizona and Nevada, and then the rest of the election happens the way it normally happens, with North Carolina sort of being the only non. We don't. I don't know. I'm going to say North Carolina is a state that I don't understand.
I don't think North Carolinians understand it. How did they elect that guy? The lieutenant governor is beyond me.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go back. We did this before in a recent podcast. I think Scott had her at 306, if I remember correctly. Now he's down to 304. I said, and I'm going to stand with it, 319.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
And now the only question is 100 million votes. That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing, because you need an overwhelming popular vote majority just to shut up the Republicans on this one, and I think that's just as big as actually winning it is making sure that they can't go whine about it the way they did in 2020. I'd prefer, I always look back with great love at the 2012 election and watching Fox News that night when Karl Rove was going berserk because in the bubble that is Fox News, he believed their own bullshit that Mitt Romney was running away with this election and couldn't believe that Barack Obama was winning it. And I think every time I turn on a right-wing radio or read it or hear a podcast or look at the right-wing TV, they're all so confident that Trump is taking this one. And then you look at the Democrats and they're all biting their nails and worried about it. And I think they're in for a big shock again. Always
good when in these elections run scared.
Yeah.
You got an advantage when you run scared. And I think the Democrats are doing that. And I think that I truly think that Harris wins this. But hey, there's 13 days before the election, and who knows what can happen between now and then.
I'm just so worried about what happens, even if Harris does win, that Trump is going to declare victory and that somehow something is going to happen to put him in the White House, that it's not going to matter how large Harris's victory is. And I'm hoping that you're both right and I am wrong, and that Harris will have her hand on that Bible on January 25th, and that we can forget about Trump and put him in the dumpster and let the lid fall down and he can stay there and we'll be done with him.
Yeah. Well, let's not make any mistake here. Even if she wins, Trumpism is not going to go away in the next 4 years. No matter what, he's still going to get oxygen from all those outlets that want to continue to give him oxygen. And I mean, we're still hearing today about the 2020 election.
Oh, I know.
And we're going to hear about it all the way through 2028. 2028, as I made the prediction, 2036 is when the next actual sane election is going to happen, and this may go, be put to the back burner. But let's make no mistake, she's going to have a hard road ahead of her. I always said, whoever got in there in 2020, even when all the candidates, even when Biden wasn't at the time the nominee, whoever got in there had a hard road ahead of him. And I think that continues with this president, hopefully President Harris, and it could, hopefully it'll die down a little bit by 2028. And like I say, a couple more cycles after that, maybe the insanity of the Republicans will have dissipated and they'll become sensible again, because we've said it before. We need a strong Republican Party. You need a strong counterbalance. And right now we don't have it, and it has to be sane. And I think that's what we really need to shoot for. And I think winning this election and getting that 100 million votes, I think that puts us on the road back to sanity.
Do you think that could happen sooner if they lose the House and they end up losing a couple of these Senate seats that they're counting on getting, and they basically end up getting thrashed in this. That all the ballot measures for the abortion issue work out the way they have so far, with the people coming out strongly and saying we want to keep these rights, with the House flipping back to the Democrats, and for the Senate being close. But let's say a Ted Cruz loses. Let's say Tester somehow pulls this one off, which he's still got some time to do. And that Ohio stays with Sherrod Brown, and
Florida.
And well, I don't think I have little faith in Florida. I do. I just have little. I don't know what it is, but and I forget what she's behind. 4 points or something like that,
or
that, yeah. That he's just got so many resources. He's got so much money to throw at it that he'll end up winning the day. And by the way, will be a real pain in the neck for the Republicans, because he, I believe, looks at himself as the next big Republican superstar, not any of these members of the House, not J.D. Vance, him, Rick Scott.
Maybe, Scott, there's a possibility that this could turn the Republicans around. However, it is as much the news, Fox News, OAN at a far lesser degree, and Newsmax at even a far lesser degree than that really dictates this is where they get their oxygen from. And they're going to say what needs to be said to be able to get their face on the television. They're not going to go on MSNBC because they're going to be challenged, and that makes them look bad. They're not going to go on CNN as much as they probably would like to, because they're going to run into a Jake Tapper. They're going to run into a Caitlin Collins. They're going to run into some of these other people that, challenge them, and they don't like it. They want to be able to go on to a platform where they could just air out whatever crap they want to air out without any challenge to it, confirmation bias, and they get in their own little bubble. Now, if Fox News was to change, I think then you might see the Republican Party change, and that's a shame that we got to wait for that.
All right.
And Brooke had to leave, so thank you to everybody for listening.
Wow.
And we will see you again next time. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, who is our editing partner, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. We'd also like to thank iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all these and other quality platforms mentioned in our description. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, a question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershwer, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.